All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is October 27th, 2025. Thank you so much for joining me, folks, to discover the truth beneath the surface. As always, I really do appreciate everybody out there taking the time to listen. And of course, it is time for another session with the great Mike King from realnewsandhistory.com. How you doing tonight, brother?
Hi, y'all. Doing well. How you doing?
Doing great, my man. Always good to see you. Always good to see you. So tonight we're going to have a typical show. We're going to start off with two of Mike's most recent New York Times articles focusing on the NBA betting scandal and also the issue of voter fraud, which once again highlights how the 2020 election disclosure is still very much in play. So the first article is entitled Q Operation Attacks the NBA, and that's from October 24th. And then the second one is Q has ended voter fraud in America. So that's going to be our first couple of segments. And then in the historical part of the show, Mike is going to take us on a deep dive exploring how Eugene and Catherine Graham Meyer, a father-daughter duo, worked behind the scenes to destroy the Republican Party, I believe going back to the World War II era, if I'm not mistaken.
Depression,
Yeah, the Depression era.
And,
yeah. So that should be fascinating. Hopefully it's going to be a great show. Please remember that the best way to support this program is to hit that thumbs up button. And a little bit later, we're going to visit Mike's website. We're going to talk about how you can support his work. So with that said, normally we start off with a bit of a discussion about current events, but we decided we were going to kind of flip the script tonight and just dive right into the NBA article. We're going to go through Mike's presentation. We'll see how we're doing on time towards the end. And then there are always some more topics that we could pepper in depending on the time at that point. So with that said, Mike, let's go ahead and pick this up right off the bat. We have Q Operation attacking the NBA. And I had to chuckle to myself a little bit because I hadn't even read your article. And I actually put out a post on Truth Social and on Telegram and on X, basically mirroring exactly what you said in this article. So I was like, this is amazing. I guess we're starting to think alike now. So that to me is a positive thing. If I'm thinking along the same lines.
Yes, Grasshopper. Is that before your time?
You have trained me well, my friend. So yeah, this is a big story that broke last week. Obviously, everybody was paying attention to it. A lot of people initially were saying, who cares about the NBA? We already knew that sports were rigged. But just like with every other story, we have to dig a little bit deeper, and we have to examine what the White Hats are actually doing, how they're setting this whole thing up as a way of preconditioning the public by exposing this widespread corruption in the context of sports, which, as you put in your article, you're going to get to, has basically been elevated to a sort of religion for all of the normies out there. This is an excellent way to prepare their consciousness for perhaps, as Trump had indicated it just yesterday, election 2020 disclosure. Yeah. And of course, it gets much more dark from there. So with that said, Mike, why don't you take the reins here and talk about your article, and let's dive in.
Well, I mean, yes, indeed. This is not a sports story. I don't cover sports. This is political story. And the two intersect, as you know, not only as the cabal. I mean, one of their objectives over the years was to capture sports because it's an important cultural institution and they could weave their influence through it. Right. Also serves as a diversion of the masses. But sports is cabal controlled or cabal influenced. And this story has direct tie-ins. And this is the Q operation. They wouldn't be going after it if this did not have significant political implications.
No doubt.
There he is, Kash Patel, FBI, DOJ, finally going after the NBA. And people have been arrested already, and this scandal is still growing. Just learned yesterday a football player was setting up crooked poker games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, football player. So now it's going to spread to the NFL. Where they would lure a fellow player into a game that was run by mobsters, and the game was rigged, and you would lose $1 million. So it spread to the NFL. But we'll cover in the article why this is significant in terms of the Q operation. It's not a sports story. per se. Tremendous coverage in the press with the Q York Times paper of record taking the lead. There's just a few of the headlines. There's been many in these recent days. What we know about the gambling cases involving NBA players. Here are the defendants named in the NBA gambling entitlements. So this has gotten quite a bit of ink, and I believe it will have legs, and will. It's really opened up pathways to so many possibilities. We'll have to see where it goes.
Yeah, for sure. And the connections to the mob, that was really one of the first things that perked my ears up a little bit, and it made me think immediately of RICO, which is exactly what we've been talking about in the context of other things, of course, on the domestic front. But this is a perfect segue. So let's go ahead and dig into this a little bit more.
Well, again, as I love to do with all news items, I always feel it's important to establish historical precedents. This way, when you get to the modern day, you understand, oh, this is not out of the realm of possibility. There's ample precedent for this. And I'm only going to give you a few. These are more high-profile cases. Some of them are theories. Others are known.
Yep.
But this is part of American history. It's undeniable. Probably the most famous case in history, they made movies about it, right, would be the 1919 World Series where the Chicago White Sox, the superior team, lost the World Series. Back then, they used to play best out of 9. First to win 5 games wins the World Series. And they were expected to win handily, perhaps 5-1, 5-2. They ended up losing the series. And I believe the opponent was Cincinnati. And then it was later discovered that 8 Chicago White Sox players were on the payroll to throw the game. And the gambler who rigged this was Arnold Rothstein.
That's right.
And it's interesting. The Jewish mobsters were much bigger than the Italians. I mean, they worked together. They collaborated with the Lucky Lucianos of the day. But in the scheme of things, these guys were really big. But you don't typically see that in the movies. They're always picking on the Sicilians, you know?
Yep, for sure.
But Rothstein was huge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They actually even wrote this into F. Scott Fitzgerald even wrote this into The Great Gatsby. That's how big of a story this was.
Yeah, that's right. That's in The Great Gatsby. And then there was a movie called 8 Men Out.
Yep, 8 Men Out.
Field of Dreams featured this. They mentioned Joe Jackson was one of the all-time great players.
Yeah, and it was the character, if I remember correctly, in Gatsby, it was the character Meyer Wolfsheim, who was supposed to represent Arnold Rothstein. Yeah,
that's right, Wolfsheim.
Yep.
So he was big, and these 8 players ended up getting banished from baseball, and nothing happened to Rothstein. I suppose because gambling was illegal, and in such cases, the law just leaves the parties alone because it's illegal on illegal. Right. I don't know. Or maybe it's because he's just too big to touch. But the players took the fall.
Of course.
1919 World Series. And the team was the Chicago White Sox. That's why it is known as the Black Sox scandal. It was a black mark on the World Series.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's go to the next one here.
1964. Muhammad Ali, I believe he was still known as Cassius Clay back then. And he fought the great Sonny Liston. And a lot of people were expecting Ali to lose, or Cassius Clay to lose, or even get hurt. Sonny Liston was a beast, and he was favored to win. And but Ali knocked him out with what came to be known as the Phantom Punch. And if you look up this old video on YouTube, it really is a Phantom Punch. Cassius Clay / Muhammad Ali was very fast, as we know, but not so fast that you can't see the punch. It's sort of like that plane hitting the Pentagon.
Yeah.
They show you the video. Where is it?
Yeah.
And it was said by people at ringside that in that iconic photo that you're looking there on the left, that's Ali yelling at Liston. He's not mocking him. He's saying, get up, get up. He wanted to win fair and square. So they say.
Yeah.
And, there was speculation it's rigged, but that's always dismissed, conspiracy theory, that type of stuff.
Yep.
But we learned in later years that the FBI had a file on this, and their suspicion was that the fight was indeed rigged by another Jewish gangster named Irving Ash Resnick. And that's what the FBI believed. And generally speaking, when the FBI believes something, they're correct, but they might not necessarily be able to obtain the necessary receipts, Mm-hmm. But this was a very strange event. And that this, I think if the FBI had said this at the time, what their suspicions were, it could have blown up into something big. But it comes out 20, 30 years later, nobody cares. Oh, the FBI, they had data indicating that this fight was probably rigged. But this was a big event. And that's how Cassius Clay first became champion, knocking out the powerful, awesome, unbeatable Sonny Liston with a phantom punch. Go figure.
So presumably then that Sonny Liston was paid to take the fall. Right. And it almost seems as if from that photo that Ali wasn't even aware of it.
Right. He suspected it. He went, it is too easy. Yeah, and I didn't even hit him, But yeah, no, there's people ringside said that Ali was saying, get up. This is an iconic photo. And I've seen this a million times. I've always thought it was Ali saying, I'm the greatest or something like that. But no, other people say, no, he was pissed off because he didn't want to be part of something like this. He's a competitor. He wants to win.
Yeah, right. Well, that's interesting because I honestly had never heard about this before. So you're saying that the FBI at the time was looking into this, but it didn't come out for like
it's in their internal files. This was their suspicion. But the FBI can't bring charges. The FBI just gathers data and does investigations. That's the DOJ's got to bring charges. But again, I don't know if there was any jurisdiction over this because I believe gambling was still illegal at the time. Modern day is different. Gambling is not only legal in Vegas. You can bet on sports games. You got the apps now, the FanDuel.
Oh yeah.
So now that's got to be protected. The integrity of gambling has got to be protected. Whereas in the past, I don't think it was. I don't think the feds would have been inclined to look into it more closely. And in recent decades, everything is so corrupt. Nobody's going to go after corrupt sports. So this is really kind of unprecedented what the DOJ just did. Yeah. Not only indicting people, but putting well-known athletes in jail. We're arrested.
Right.
So we're going to get to that.
So this came out in the 90s that the FBI had been looking into this, or the 80s?
This is like sometime in the last 20 years.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious.
Times article. Yeah, you could probably look it up. That's a Washington Times headline.
No kidding.
So it's there's a lot of historical things like this. They come out after 30, 40, 50 years, and it's, oh, wow, that's interesting, but nobody cares anymore.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's this is what the FBI suspected.
It's like the statute of limitations on public opinion.
And it all fits when you put it together. The phantom punch, Ali seeming to be very angry in that photo, etc.
Did he go down early in the fight, or was this later?
I think it was relatively early. I'm not sure what round.
Interesting. Okay,
but it was too easy. It was just too easy.
Yeah. All right. So there we go. Another one of the Jewish mafia.
Yeah.
Involved. Okay.
Now, the 1968 season, for which the Super Bowl would actually be played in January of 1969. That was the Jets versus the Colts. It was Super Bowl III. But it was actually the first title match to be nicknamed the Super Bowl or named the Super Bowl. The first two were just called the AFL NFL Championship game. This third one, they hyped it up as the Super Bowl, and it was Super Bowl III. Mm-hmm. And you see the headline there, The Guarantee. Very memorable historic event occurred when the Jets quarterback, Joe Namath, was at an event several days before the game, a sporting club or something, and he told the press, I guarantee we're going to win. I guarantee the victory. And that statement seemed so outlandish at the time because the Colts were a 19-point favorite. They were far superior. Mm-hmm. Everyone's expecting a blowout. And you have this character, Joe Namath, saying, I guarantee we're going to win. But look at the sub-headline there by Brent Musburger, the famous sportscaster. He wrote this article. It says, it was the most important Super Bowl ever played. Now, what does he mean by that? Why would it be the most important Super Bowl ever played? But indeed it was. Because throughout the late 40s and 50s and 60s, you had the NFL. And then this upstart league came along in competition with the NFL called the AFL. But it was a separate entity. And but they used to poach some good players and good college players, and at some point, the NFL decided it'd be better to merge with this AFL. Not exactly a single entity. You play your league, we play in ours, but at the end, your champion plays our champion in a championship game. And a lot of people looked at it as kind of gimmicky because the NFL is so superior. And the first two championship games for the 66 and the 67 season were won easily by the Green Bay Packers, blowout. Mm-hmm. So by the time the Super Bowl III came along, a lot of people were just questioning, the legitimacy of this game. Maybe we shouldn't have it. Maybe it's better to just absorb some of the AFL players, sort of like the NBA did with the ABA later on. So in order to keep this spectacle, this emerging spectacle alive, the AFL had to win. Another blowout, that might have been the last Super Bowl.
Interesting. Oh, okay.
That's a fact. And indeed, Brent Musburger calls it the most important Super Bowl ever played for that reason. And everyone was expecting a blowout. I mean, all the great teams were in the NFL, the Packers and the Giants and the New York Jets were just they were an inferior team. There's no question about it. And they were a 19-point underdog, which means for gambling parlance, the Jets get a 19-point head start only for purposes of the bet because they're far inferior. Mm-hmm. And then you got Joe Namath here making a guarantee that we're going to win. And a lot of people just thought, he's a joke. He's being cocky. But let's see what happened.
All right, let's go.
Well, there it is. And this really shocked the sports world. One of the great upsets of all time. Jets super champs. Shock. There's that word, shock. Remember when we did the Dig 'em Up series and I showed all those headlines?
Yeah.
Coolidge death shocks the nation. Bora's death shocks the nation. It's a shock. It really was. Major upset. 19-point underdogs. And here they are. They end up winning the game by 9 points. And this conferred immediate and instant legitimacy upon the AFL. And then in subsequent years, they're drafting better players and there's trades. More people are willing to play in the NFL. And in short order, there was parity between the two leagues. And for a while, then they became the AFC and the NFC,
right?
In one single NFL.
So everything was riding on this game. The Jets had to win in order to continue on the trajectory that the league wanted to go.
That's right. The league wanted both of these entities to succeed, ultimately merge, and keep this. And they had a vision of this grand spectacle. And this was the first year they named it Super Bowl. And now it's an annual, religious event almost.
Funny how that happens, right?
Yeah.
Now, did they ever? Was there anybody at that time? Because I remember this game. Obviously, it was before my time, but I certainly know the history of the game. But did anyone have any suspicions at that time that maybe something might be a little bit off here, or was it just like,
apparently you didn't cheat and go ahead and view the presentation in advance because it's in there.
I did not.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. I surprise you.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. This is before my time as well. I'd be a little itty boy. I don't remember this. My first memory is the great Dolphins teams later on.
Yeah, right. This is 10 years before I was even born, but I do remember the Joe Namath making the guarantee.
That's part of sports lore. It's never been forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that made him legend. I mean, he was a great quarterback in his own right, but that made him legend. Like, wow, he guaranteed victory, and then he pulled it off.
It's kind of like Babe Ruth calling his shot,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. No, I didn't.
Well,
I didn't cheat this time, Mike.
Well, you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
Now,
Good.
Bubba Smith, he played for the Colts. He was a defensive end, great player. And he said in later years, he actually wrote an autobiography. I mean, he had a good NFL career, and then he made an even bigger name for himself. He was in a lot of movies. Big guy, 6'7", great defensive
I remember
end.
Bubba Smith.
Bubba Smith.
Yeah.
And he says, quote, "I don't think the game was kosher. In order for the merger to go through, the Jets had to win." And that's what Musburger says in that article as well. So he's absolutely right about that part. If you read the terms of the merger, if the AFL did not establish credibility by the end of 3 years, this was the third year, the terms of the merger were null and void.
Wow.
You're talking the difference between millions and billions of dollars. The line opened at 18, and then it went down to 15 or something like that. It's talking about the point spread. Because a big bet had been placed on the game. I know where the bet came from. It came from Baltimore, from someone on the team.
What?
And when he said this, sports media denounced him. Because sports media, that's all Kamal. Oh, Bubba, crazy Bubba. He's got this crazy theory, this and that. But he also went on to explain how in the opening game that they were just driving up and down the field, the Colts were, and then the drive would stall. And he asserts that Johnny Unitas was missing open guys. There's actually a famous video from one of the receivers. I think his name was Barry, wide open, downfield for and he's like, and Unitas, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, doesn't see him. And this happened on numerous opening drives. They were really taking it down the field, and they were, if you got to Unitas, and he says somebody on the team made a bet, so he's alleging that Unitas was the guy, or there might have been several other players. He certainly wasn't in on it, but he was very upset, and he says he was just missing passes, and our drives are breaking down, and then there's something going on. He was very adamant about that, and it's certainly the game was strange. It was a game of blown opportunities by the Colts. So you put it all together: the Namath guarantee, the absolute necessity for the AFL to win. It smells. It stinks. It stinks to high heaven. It really does.
So the real question is, who would have stood to lose all of that money if the merger actually became null and void, right?
Well, I think they were looking at the I mean, now you had all of these other cities that they wanted to incorporate into one big league, but the big event itself, the Super Bowl, that was a big money maker, But the merger itself would have expanded everything to. You just have a much bigger organization now that encompasses, I think at that time would have been like 28 cities, as opposed to just going back to the NFL, which is like 12 teams or something,
So what was really on the line here was the growth of professional football itself. And not only that, it was also the branding of what became the Super Bowl, which is now.
Yeah, the branding of the big, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they had this in mind to really make it a big national thing. And in essence, they doubled their size with this merger. But if the AFL doesn't gain some kind of parity, your best players aren't going to want to go there, and the Super Bowl is going to collapse because there are people who didn't want the merger too. So, yeah, there was a lot of money on the line. This was not directly related to gambling. It seems any bets that were made from inside information, that's just like a secondary thing, like Larry Silverstein in the insurance policy. It's like,
right.
Well, since we're going to do this, let me make some money on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. But this has
there would be numerous millionaires who are wanting this game to go a certain way. Interesting choice of words. How he said, I don't think the game was kosher.
It was kosher. Yeah, I wonder if he's trying to say something there.
Yeah, I wonder. All right. Let's move on here. Okay.
So, and there's many other cases which aren't even remotely theoretical. They're known. Point shading, collar, things and that. So, by establishing this foundation, this precedent, we get to the modern day. This is something that should not shock people.
No.
But it is, for people who passionately follow the NBA, this is a big deal. I mean, look who was arrested. Chauncey Billups was a Hall of Fame player in his own right, and he's currently the coach of the Portland Trailblazers. He was arrested. He was involved in the poker. This has got two elements to it. One is you entice, what sleazeballs. I mean, these are your fellow athletes and colleagues, presumably acquaintances, friends. You entice them into a high-stakes poker game. They got so much money to burn. But they used some sort of advanced technology. The games were rigged.
Yeah, they're wearing some sort of like X-ray glasses or something like that.
Yeah, it's really wild. Yeah. Then we have Damon Jones. He and the other one. These are he also became a player, coach, not a head coach,
a shooting coach for LeBron, right? Was he the one? Was he LeBron's shooting coach? Supposedly.
That's right. Yeah, he was. Yeah,
okay, Damon Jones. Yeah,
that's right. And then a current player, Terry Rozier. And what the latter two did, Damon Jones and Terry Rozier, relates directly to the games themselves, not the poker part of it.
Right.
Okay.
So Chauncey Billups was more on the poker side of things.
Yeah, he was scamming people, luring them
in to
into poker games, and they lose $1 million.
Right.
Okay.
And he takes a cut. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But these two guys were actually involved in the rigging of the games themselves.
Oh, right. This is where it really gets juicy. The poker part is a nice lead-in, but what these guys did is really juicy, and this is what we're going to wait and see if this really explodes, because now you're talking about rigging games themselves. That kills the whole legitimacy of the leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, well, that's Chauncey Billups. He was a longtime teammate of LeBron James, played with him in Cleveland. And then LeBron, LeBron's always changing teams because rather than stay with no loyalty, total.
You mean Damon Jones, right?
What's that?
You mean Damon Jones, right?
Well, Damon Jones on the left, yeah, he played with LeBron James.
Okay, yeah, you had said Chauncey Billups, so I just wanted to make sure we got
Chauncey Billups was a head coach. Yeah,
was the coach, right? Okay, so
as far as who played with LeBron James, that was Damon Jones.
Correct.
Played with him in Cleveland, followed him to Miami, followed him to Los Angeles. And then LeBron James wants him as his shooting coach.
Right.
All-time NBA scorer needs a shooting coach. From a guy who's, I don't know. But clearly they're very close. They've been very close for years, both professionally and personally.
Right.
And this is where the story, to me, I hope that this is where it goes, and it goes soon, because this could be explosive. We're going to talk about what Damon Jones did that got him arrested.
Okay, let's do it.
Now, again, like I said, this transcends sports big time, because LeBron James, first of all, everyone knows his name. He's is a cultural institution of his own right, transcends sports, like a Michael Jordan or Babe Ruth, right? Everybody knows him. All the politicians were after him for their endorsement. Big Obama supporter, very political.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, and connected in dark ways to this whole world.
It's all types of videos of LeBron with the rabbis too. Have you seen those ones?
No, I haven't.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Should I go to the next one?
Yeah, let's go to the next one.
Okay. All right. Scroll down.
And then in 2016, he was all out for Hillary Clinton. Hates Trump. Surprise, surprise. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen his pregame rituals. I mean, this fellow's got all of the earmarks and indicators of a Satanist.
No doubt.
Really freaky shit. The 6'6", throwing this, like, I don't know what it is, salt in the air, something like that.
Yeah, he
A
does
lot of occult symbolism. They put it in your face.
Yeah, I remember I did a show. I don't remember the exact details, but he does like the Baphomet. He spreads the dark energy around, and the Baphomet.
Yeah, right. And then he does this.
Yeah, he does that. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's big. He's big time. He's one of them, and so's Hillary.
Yeah.
And they pulled out all the stops for 2016, so he really went all in for her, and that actually influences a lot of people, pathetic as it may sound.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm talking about. This is not, should not be mistaken as purely a sports story.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Do you want me to show you the video of the rabbi? Well, since I
let's see this. Yeah, didn't know this.
Yeah. So this, let me pull this up. As usual, I got about 1 million windows open. So let me see if I can find the right one. Oh, here we go. So here's one post here. LeBron's name is being invoked in relation to some of these insider gambling charges. Important to also note that LeBron has been palling around with criminal rabbis, paying them 6-figure fees for spiritual guidance.
Whoa.
The decision. So here's the actual. I don't know if you can see that. Let me.
Wow.
Let me scroll.
Look at that. He's in a synagogue.
Yep. Attends
He's a
Jewish
Moroccan Israeli Kabbalist rabbi who once served a year in prison.
Yep. And then there's also a video as well. Let me go to that. Let me see if I can find.
Yeah, that guy has got to be part of the inner satanic sect hiding within Judaism.
Rabbi I don't know how to pronounce that. Something Yoshef Pinto. I don't know who this guy is, Mike. I don't know if you've heard of him before, but you can see the video right here.
Look at that.
Holding hands.
Wow.
Spiritual advisor.
Spiritual advisor.
So I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Good one. I had no idea. That's great. I wish I had that when I put my article together. Wow.
So yeah, this goes way beyond sports. And like we were saying before at the top of the show, I mean, this is the NBA and LeBron James, like somebody of that stature for a normie out there. I mean, this guy is, I mean, they literally worship characters like this.
Yeah.
I can remember for me, it was Michael Jordan growing up in the 90s, but at that age, I mean, obviously I wasn't awake. I was just a kid, but even into my early 20s, I mean, I worshiped Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And then that's how it is. And that's why they court these larger than life sports characters here. And you can see that he's far more political than most people realize. And that's ultimately where we're going with this here. So should I go to the next one?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Well, this is anticlimactical after the video you just showed. but doing this shit all the time, the eyeball, the sixes. I mean, there's no doubt about this one. This guy's a Satanist.
Yep.
Guy. So now we're talking not only transcending the world of sports, but that of politics and geopolitics. Now you're getting into the core of the evil of this international cabal and the Q post. Many of the elites worship Satan, right?
Yep.
So
let me show you this. Hold on a second here. Let me see if I can refresh this. This is the ritual that he does.
Oh yeah, let's have a look. Yeah.
Have a look at this. So, I know a lot of folks out there have seen this, but I always have to assume there are some people who haven't.
Right.
This is LeBron James warm-up ritual right here. You can see him. The Baphomet chest release, exaltation, the dark magic, spreading the energy around. This is what he does before every game. I don't really know what that one's all about. He just looks like he's throwing punches there, but this is the one.
Pyramid, sixes, yeah.
There's some pretty creepy music there too, but anyway, all right. Okay, so let's get back into this. So I think folks have a pretty good idea of what we're getting at here. This guy is
bad news.
It's hardcore. Let me go to the next one.
All right. So I'm going to read an excerpt from my article here about Damon Jones. This is the one who ties it all together. Damon Jones was once a teammate of the legendary superstar and apparent Satanist LeBron James. James later brought Jones to Cleveland as his personal shooting coach, as if he needed one.
Yeah, right.
Jones was then promoted to assistant coach and again followed James when he relocated to the Lakers. No doubt about it, Jones and James have been basketball buddies for a long time. So he made Damon Jones, at least his coaching career element of his career. Because if King James says, I want this guy on the team, I want him to be you have to listen to him. He had that kind of stature. It's like, Larry Bird and Michael Jordan, they if they wanted something, they got it.
They get it, right?
That's the way it is. If they don't like you, you're done. So he's got that kind of influence, and with that influence, he created Damon Jones. Maybe he's a Satanist too.
Yep.
The indictment said that Jones was a teammate and coach of, quote, a prominent NBA player who it called Player 3. They didn't name him, but this is not hard to puzzle out. Okay. It is alleged that Jones used his relationship with, quote unquote, Player 3, LeBron James, to gain information that he then sold to the gamblers. Specifically, Jones learned on the morning of February 9th, 2023, that Player 3 would not play in the Lakers game against the Bucks that night. He then informed an unnamed co-conspirator to place a big bet on the Bucks because he, meaning James, would not be playing. But here's the thing. It is a requirement. It's a legal requirement, league requirement. At the close of the day, the night before the game, teams, NBA, NFL, all sports, they have to disclose their injury report because money is being wagered. And if a certain player is out or he's questionable, of course, that's going to affect your betting decision. So at the close of business the night before, LeBron James is not on injury report. He springs this just before the game. What happened? Did he get hurt in his sleep?
Interesting.
And then Damon Jones tips off the gamblers. So
how did they spin that, Mike? Did they ask him? I mean, was there any kind of league investigation into that at the time?
No, they're not going to look into King James.
No, it's just like, oh, he's just injured. And,
he doesn't feel well. I pulled something, whatever. You say you're not up to it. That's it. This isn't the old days, which were the other extreme. I don't know if you were aware of the sad story of Bill Walton. They juiced him up with so many injections.
Oh yeah,
because they wanted to get him through the playoffs, and they ended up. They ruined after that surgery. He ended up playing only 50% of his career in terms of games. He still had a good career.
Yeah, no,
but
yeah.
Back then they just jack you up, play. Yeah. Now it's you have the slightest ache because it's so easy to pull yourself out of a game. So he springs this the day of the game, so that doesn't affect the lines or the bets or anything. And the question now is, did he pull himself out for this purpose?
Yep.
I'm sure he did. It sure seems like he did, but we'll have to see how this goes.
Now they've said that LeBron, his injury information, if I'm not mistaken, something along the lines of he's been linked to the investigation because that his injury status was sold by Damon Jones.
Right.
But has that actually officially come out yet? I'm not sure because I don't know if that's
that's why Jones was arrested, because he sold the insider information. Okay. The open question is, did James really feel hurt that day? Okay. Why did he say he's not on the injury report the night before? So you have to have gotten hurt in the sleep. It doesn't smell right. And it's just that simple. You pull yourself out of a game. That's it.
Now, has the FBI officially come out and said that LeBron is player 3, or are they still kind of playing that game where it hasn't been revealed yet?
They haven't dropped his name as far as I know. They just keep saying player 3, but it's so absurd because they say was a teammate and the coach of a prominent player.
So it's pretty obvious. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure if they'd actually dropped that.
Right. So it's almost like they did it in such a manner to build a little bit of drama and tension. Right. Yeah. But no, it's LeBron James. There's no question about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, all right. So that was the last.
So that's it. We're gonna have to see how this plays out. And what I'm saying is, if LeBron James ever got perp walked, those shockwaves would go far beyond the sports world. Because most sports fans, they don't believe it when you tell them you suspect the game is rigged. It's the same phenomenon. It's the same mental dynamic. Oh, shut up. And I've long suspected a lot of over the year. I don't follow sports much at all, but there were things I've just seen over the year. I mean, it's just weird. Everybody makes mistakes in a game, but some of the stuff would seem so deliberate. Of course, there would be rigged. Why wouldn't it be rigged? All you need is money. And a player to cooperate is so easy. And that other character, Rozier, we didn't talk about. You know what he did? I didn't know you could bet over and under on the amount of points that a specific player scores.
Yeah.
You know, you could bet over and under on the total score of a game, the number of points, but you could do it on a specific player.
Yeah.
Okay, so if a guy averages 18 points a game, you could bet the under. That'll be maybe score 16 or 17 or the over. Well, Rozier took himself out of a game late in the game while he was still under the over-under line. A fake injury.
Yep.
Okay. That's why he was arrested. So
that
that opens up a whole big question. If it's that easy, you've got to look at every case of a guy. I mean, how easy is it to just throw up a few bricks on purpose just to stay under?
Yep.
Put yourself out of a game, get yourself into foul trouble, or maybe pass the ball instead of taking an easy shot.
Yep.
That opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
Yep.
How many guys could be involved with that? And the thing with the NBA, you got 82 games, and everybody makes the playoffs anyway. So what? You throw a few away.
Yep. Yeah, and we're finding out more and more that the refs were in on it. I mean, and they've said this is just the tip of the iceberg. And by the way, there's a couple other things here about LeBron with the rabbi. I gotta pull up because I actually just found this in the context. Let's see here. So we got.
So glad you found those, but very intriguing that they suddenly came out. Huh?
They suddenly emerged. I didn't even know.
No, that smells of Q-up.
Of course. Yeah. So here it is. It said, and this went along with the video that I showed a little while ago. TMZ has obtained this exclusive photo, or the video there you just saw, with LeBron James in a business meeting earlier today with Rabbi Yeshuayahu Yosef Pinto. Probably butchered that. A man known around New York as the rabbi to the business stars. Sources involved with the meeting tell us LeBron hired Rabbi Pinto for spiritual guidance for a big merchandising meeting that took place on a private yacht somewhere off the coast of New York just hours ago. Rabbi Pinto, 37-year-old man who speaks only Hebrew, has met with all sorts of business moguls in the past and is considered by some to be the, quote, spiritual guide who consults on business matters. We're told LeBron paid in the neighborhood of 6 figures to get Rabbi Pinto to sit in on today's meeting, in which LeBron heard presentations from several big-time retail execs. Imagine that, right? And this is the picture, by the way, that they're talking about there in the article.
Yeah.
So there you go. And I have to say, Mike, I got to give myself a little hat tip here, because again, I was right on the same page with you before I saw your article. So I put this post out. I said a lot of people are celebrating the exposure of professional sports being rigged, which is something that we've known as Anons for a long time. But I think
That's
it goes deeper. In my opinion, this NBA scandal, while 100% true, is part of the Q operation intended to open the eyes of the normies to widespread corruption in the context of sports as a way of preconditioning the public to accept much darker truths, like I alluded to before. Yeah. We're hearing the players implicated so far are only the tip of the iceberg. Imagine the impact if LeBron gets arrested. Yeah. Remember, the purpose of this operation is to wake everybody up, which requires shockwaves that will transcend politics. And considering that your average normie cares more about sports than what's happening in the real world, the strategy and the timing of this event makes perfect sense. The White Hats are deconstructing the Matrix one event at a time. So I had to chuckle a little bit because I was like, I wrote that post and I saw that you put up one of your short videos on X, and I went and I watched it. And I was like, crap.
Yeah. Well, you know, once you know the mathematical formulas, of course we'll solve for X independently of one another.
Yeah,
it's quite obvious, and you know there can't be any cognitive dissonance with it's sports betting rigging. It's not the kind of thing people say. I don't believe it. You know, whereas for folks who have that passionate attachment to the Obamas and the Clintons and others, you might have that resist. This would go a long way to breaking down that whole mentality. Yep. You know, you tear down people's sports heroes. Now you plant a bunch of other stuff. So maybe these will be the first big people to go.
Yeah. Well, it makes
and like I said, it just came out yesterday that now it's spreading to the NFL. The poker game element of it.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's going to spread across. Everyone's saying this is going to. I actually am a little bit surprised that it wasn't the NFL first, to be honest with you. But either way, the big picture here is that, like I said in that post, and like you were saying, sports is basically like an opiate for the masses, like a religion. It's been elevated, you know, that bread and circus that they introduced. And I don't remember who it was, a famous quote, was it Marcus Aurelius, who said that, you know, you give them bread and circus and the people won't revolt, something along those lines. I don't know if it was him, but it was something along those lines. They've gotten people so indoctrinated with sports that, I mean, it's literally all they talk about.
That's right.
It's all they talk about. It's all they think about. They follow it in the same manner that we follow the Q operation. I mean, that's literally, they know all the statistics. They know the schedules. They know the injury reports, everything else. Talk about a way of blowing up people's matrix. You know? And that's really the whole purpose, right? It's about waking up everybody. It's about meeting people where they're at, exposing the corruption. And then once you open up that door, it's like you've talked about in the context of Israel with 10-7. You know, you expose 10-7, hop, skip, and a jump to 9/11. It's the same basic.
Right. Game rigging, election rigging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, we might as well take a look at, since we're on the subject here, I know we're going to be getting into the next piece is going to be about basically going back and revisiting the 2020 election. But this is exactly what Trump put out. And I said, right, as predicted, what did Trump write? What's worse? The NBA players cheating at cards and probably much else, or Democrats cheating at elections?
When did this come out?
This was, I actually have the actual Truth Social post. This was just it was yesterday. It was yesterday.
Yeah, perfect.
Yep. And he goes on.
It doesn't surprise me at all that he seized upon that. Well, it's of course. I mean, this is the Q operation. Q makes the post too. That's and right. That is why for tonight's presentation, those are the two articles I picked out.
They go together perfectly.
It's like peanut butter and jelly, man.
I was just about to say that. Yeah. So he goes on, for those people listening out there who don't have the, some people do audio only. Let me read the rest of the post. He says, the 2020 presidential election being rigged and stolen is a far bigger scandal. Look what happened to our country when a crooked moron became our president. We now know everything. That's a key part right there. I mean, they've known for a long time, obviously. Mm-hmm. I hope the DOJ pursues this with as much gusto as befitting the biggest scandal in American history. So again, he's basically saying let's take all of that energy that we put into sports and apply it to the real world. If not, it will happen again, including the upcoming midterms, no mail-in or early voting, which we're going to get into in the next piece here.
Yeah.
Yes to voter ID, and basically it just kind of goes on from there. But he immediately seized upon that. He made that connection, just like, I mean, it's pretty simple to figure out the calculus at this point, right? They introduce the story. Everybody has this big reaction to it. Yeah. Trump comments on it and connects the dots, and you can see very clearly where it's headed. So it's actually a perfect segue.
And again, like all of the other storylines, let's not expect booms next week or I mean,
no, I know
it's back on the back burner.
Yeah, they could. Yep.
Yeah, but this is it's all moving forward. I mean, this was already a big a few cracks in the ice blocks of people's mind already.
That's right.
You know,
they're laying the foundation.
Not for but I mean for people who are really passionate about this stuff. This is a big deal. Chauncey Billups getting arrested, and now whispers about LeBron James. That's so right. Let's see where this goes. But it's
what's everybody?
It's really a brilliant tactic if that's where they're going, is to link the game rigging to the election rigging, and something I didn't even foresee, but now would just make perfect sense.
Yeah, well, I think Trump just basically confirmed it.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, it may take several months to come to fruition. Like everything else, we've come to expect that whatever the big story is right now, it's probably going to go away for a little while and then it'll come back into the cycle. But this is huge. And you can only imagine what are all the normies talking about at the sports bar? What are they talking about with their buddies? What are they talking about at the water cooler at work?
Yeah.
It's unavoidable, right? And this has not, and it's brilliant too, because it has, at least in their minds, it has absolutely no connection to politics. Has no connection to anything that's actually.
That's right. Yeah, and they don't even know they're being led that way.
Precisely.
And LeBron James is out there now. He's not being accused, but I mean, everyone knows he's player 3. Yeah. It doesn't take much, logical deduction abilities to at least ask the question. Boy, did he pull himself out like Terry Rozier did?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to crack that matrix, baby. That's what it's all about. All right, let's go ahead. It's a perfect segue. Let's go. We did the peanut butter. Now let's do the jelly here.
Right.
All right, here we go. So Q, this is a piece that Mike wrote a few days ago. Q has ended, voter fraud in America. Absolutely massive. I saw the Trump, the clip of him announcing this, that he's going to be signing these executive orders in the Oval Office, and I thought, my goodness, this is massive. So, all right, Mike, take it.
It is. And look, Q York Times, that's front page right there. Elevating 2020 deniers. Trump fuels 2026 fears. Backers of false election claims. And again, be not dismayed by the negative tone here. That's part of the game here. It's the issue itself, is people are being hammered with it. Now, I say Q has ended voter fraud in America. Absolutely has. But it doesn't mean that they're not going to replay it. So they may be gearing up for something, but it will be Q engineered this time. Q engineered voter fraud. So here we go again. This is what we were expecting as the closing climax of last year's election, right?
Yep.
And now we're hearing about the 2026 midterms. It makes me want to take a shot of whiskey or something.
Yeah, I know.
It is what it is. We absolutely know that we're watching a movie, and that should always, when we're disheartened or discouraged or tired, that should always encourage us. The movie is still on, clearly.
That's right.
We can't.
And it always has to come to an end. It's certain.
It must end. It must end. Like a law of physics, it must end. That's all we can hold on to.
Yep. But I agree with you. I mean, going back to where, let's just say a year ago, as we were approaching the presidential election, if we had any idea that we'd be seeing headlines about, the 2026 midterms, we probably would have all lost our minds at that point. But absolutely. I mean, this is, look, the fatigue is what it is, folks. And I get it. We all go through it. But the reality of the matter is, like I've always said, right from the very beginning, the 2026 midterms you have to keep your eye on the trajectory of the operation. And as long as things are continuing to move in the right direction, and we can still track, we can't predict, but we can still track and analyze all the moves that the White Hats are making behind the scenes. As long as that's going on, and at the same time, life is continuing to get better for people incrementally, which I'm pretty sure you'd have a hard time arguing that point. Since last January, obviously, we still have a long way to go to roll this whole thing out, but that's what you have to focus on.
Right.
And if you have to, you have your moments where you get frustrated, that's okay. But we're all along for the ride at this point. We just got to strap in and enjoy the show. That's what Q told us to do. And it's a struggle sometimes, but this is all completely aligned with the operation, the objectives of the operation that we, and even actually connects to what we were talking about last week with the Democrats losing power from all the redistricting, and also the giving preference to white immigrants.
Yeah.
Right. So all of these things are aligning. But anyway, sorry.
That's right.
I digress. Go ahead.
And they're all dead. Trump just told us the other day, Chuck Schumer shot.
Yeah, he did.
So,
sure did.
So it is what it is. But again, this is another bit of progress in terms of the mind of the normies now, if they're going to see sports corruption. And I gave this matter some thought. This might not be exclusively about the reprogramming of normies, although that's very important, and that's a slow process. You think when the whole system is imploded, the fake system, there's got to be something in place already to take its place. Otherwise, you have chaos.
Yeah.
So what kind of new systems, bureaucracies, programs, economic systems are maybe still being erected quietly behind the curtain? We don't know. So I'm reminded at a time I worked for a bank and it merged. And there was all this internal chaos. We had to learn new systems, and you got some people let go, new people come in. Customers didn't see any of that. They just see the sign changes one day.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So
you think that process might still be ongoing? Is that kind of where you're getting at?
There might be still some things being done. I mean, I know for a fact, confirmed by my CPA, that the IRS has been really gutted internally, yet they're still there. I mean, you can't just get rid of them right away, right? So that's what I mean. So this it could be like parallel objectives that are making this thing so long. It's like we're going to bring the normies along slowly, gain a new percentage each month, and yet at the same time we've got to erect this something, because if you're going to have radical changes, I would imagine that putting the new world in place is a very time-consuming, tedious project. That's got to be completely done before you destroy this remaining facade of the new world order.
Well, that line of thinking, I remember during the fake Biden years was very prevalent. That they're still putting all of their chips in order, so to speak, and that's why they're kind of dragging us out with all these psyops and everything else. But I mean, I remember going back to January, not to get on too much of a tangent here, but we kind of both agreed that once Trump won the election and he went through the lame duck period, and there were no big events or anything like that. Yeah. We said, okay, well, he's just going to hit the ground running, and we're just going to steamroll through. And that's actually the way it looked in the first few weeks of his presidency. And then all of a sudden things got a little bit more complicated. So it's interesting to wonder about that, whether or not they're still actually implementing the infrastructure, so to speak, behind the scenes, so that they're, to fill that vacuum, like you said, and which could be. I mean, it could very well be. But I have to say, there was just seeing election 2020 in the news and hearing Trump continue to talk about it.
Right. It's not going away.
Huge boost. Absolutely huge boost. Yeah. And I have a couple of clips on that later we can show. But anyway, go ahead.
It's not going away. That's for sure.
Yep. And that's the important.
Well, this story is about he's apparently stacked the election bureaucracy now with quote unquote election deniers, hardcore. So,
Should deny us.
so this is but this has been eliminated. But he's still going to warn the country about it.
Yep.
So we might have a great replay brewing for 2026.
Possibly, yeah. Let's hope it's not 2028 though.
Oh gosh.
Mike's going to start hitting the bottle on the show.
No.
That happens.
You hear what Bannon said the other day. We can get Trump in for 2028. I'm like, I do.
God, I hope not. I hope not. I hope they wrap it up before then. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
all righty.
Okay, let's go to the next one here.
And as I did with the prior piece, I felt we should establish precedent. Historical precedent is everything. That's why I'm real news and history.
Yep.
But election rigging is as American as apple pie, and sports rigging. It goes way back, and there's so many cases. I'm just going to get a few of the machine cases that are like acknowledged by establishment historians. Big city Democrat machines going back to the first image. That's Boss Tweed, William Tweed, of the infamous Tammany Hall of New York City in the late 19th century. Yep. Dead voters, all that, and then that's like known. Like nobody disputes that. It was a machine, local precinct machine. All the cities had a machine. And it's sort of like organized crime with a political twist to it.
Yep.
Boss Tweed. I think he ended up in jail too. Mm-hmm. In Missouri, I put St. Louis there. It's actually Kansas City. There was Tom Pendergast in the Pendergast machine. Same thing. And they took this unemployed guy whose business had failed. It was a depression after World War I, and he didn't have any trade, any college degree. And before you know it, he was a judge, and then a senator, and then vice president, and became president. Harry Truman. Freemason, too, high-level Freemason. But Pendergast made him, at least in the beginning. Afterwards, Truman had to distance himself from the Pendergast machine, and Truman's opponents were referred to him mockingly as the not the senator from Missouri, but the senator from Pendergast. He was a real crook. Everything. Favors, bribes, vote rigging. Again, the kind of stuff you could read in an establishment historical account. So I don't even have to make the case this time.
Yep.
And then Richard Daley of Chicago, again, infamous. And there's even an old photo that surfaced some years ago. Is a big gathering, and Al Capone is in the picture. I mean, it's a bunch of fellas, maybe like 30 people. But Al Capone is in there, and so is Daley. Mm-hmm. But that's what the big city machines would do. Lots of fake votes.
Yep.
It's so simple because if you're not cleaning the voter rolls of dead people, somebody just come in and votes in their name.
Yep. So
these were organized machines, but in addition to that, you had specific elections. Again, establishment historians all agree with me on this. Lyndon Baines Johnson stalled the 1948 Texas Senate election. That's a fact. Books have been written about it. It's interesting. These things come out decades later, and nobody really questions it. Nobody cares anymore.
Well, that's always the same template they use.
Oh, yeah, right. But if you say it in the moment, you're crazy, right?
Mm-hmm. They wait until everybody who would have cared is long gone, and then they come out with it, and everyone's like, "Oh,
right. Yeah, exactly, right." Yep. Like the Ali Liston allegations, right?
Yeah.
Even Bubba Smith was like 20 years after the fact.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. You wait a little while, nobody cares anymore.
Right. But it's important to care because although you can't go back in history and correct this, you learn from it. And that's the only way you understand contemporary events.
Of course.
You're right. The old cliche, you don't learn from history, you're condemned to repeat it.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. This has been going on a long time. And even before that, I mean, I've heard stories too about how they used to, even before the machines, they would have, in the 1800s, they'd have people, they'd drug people up with, like drug liquor, and they'd use them as repeat voters and all this type of stuff. I mean, this has gone on for a really, really long time.
Yeah, the big controversy in Kansas prior to the Civil War was full of vote fraud. Actually, the election of 1874, that was they had 100% turnout in South Carolina for Samuel Tilden.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
No,
it's crazy, right? It's just gotten more.
Just the stuff that's documented and accepted as legitimate history is bad enough. But that's the trick. They never say anything recent. They'll reach back at 100 years because nobody cares.
Well, and it's amazing too, because you can go back and you can revisit all of these historical precedents that have been accepted as fact for a very long time. But then if you go and you try to make the case that this is still going on today, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
It's amazing, right?
I mean, they rigged the World Series in 1919. Well, it could never happen again.
Right.
Why can that? As humanity changed, what are we, better people now?
No, it's even easier to do it at this stage.
Yeah. You talk about an inconsistent, incongruent belief system.
Right. Well, people want to keep their matrix. They fight to protect it. That's what we've been, and it goes back to that clip with Neo and Morpheus.
Yeah.
That's why the normies are the enemy in this fifth generation war, because they fight to protect that matrix, which is basically the illusion that all is well in the world. And they don't have to worry about anything except what the media tells them to think about and worry about. And that's, that's really what it all comes down to. And that's what all of these stories are about. All of these tactics the white hats are using is to chip away at that little bit at a time, And it's grueling and painstaking, but it's effective. Yeah. It is effective because people are, there's no doubt that people have to be asking questions at this point, Mike.
They are. And even if we only partially wake up 0.5% of the population a month, this has been going on for 8 years now.
Yep.
So it's substantial, but nonetheless, it will not be until the explosive stuff comes that you get that sort of unity,
right?
Like you was talking about.
Well, we can't go at this pace forever to expect that we're going to wake up all the normies. That's kind of it feeds into the overall conversation about the timeline of the operation. The movie has to come to an end, but if you keep going at this pace to wake people up, heck, we'll be long gone before.
All right, yeah, and we've probably already reached the point of diminishing returns. Okay, because you want MAGA, you pretty much got them. You pretty much got the center. You're 35-40%. It's a substantial part of the country that's still under some sort of Trump derangement syndrome or libtarded. You're just not going to move them until the children stuff comes out.
Yep.
Which is okay, but in the meantime, you've got enough to roll.
I agree.
So I don't. They're not going to be able to get the whole country with this chip away stuff.
No.
Yeah.
So, and that's actually good news for everybody out there who's gotten really tired and fatigued, and they're contemplating that black pill on certain days. They can't continue to go at this process forever, folks. There's just no way. They're gonna have to continue to turn up the volume, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So, take heart in that. I certainly am. Okay, so let's go to the next panel here. Here we go. Oh, Heather Honey, there she is.
Okay, this is from the New York Times. Election officials from nearly all 50 states gathered on a call last month with Homeland Security Department's point person on election integrity. And it turns out that she's a hardcore election denier.
Mm-hmm. Exactly what we want.
So this is, that's what I mean. It's over. It's already over. It doesn't mean there's not going to be play acting, but they have finally ended voter fraud in America. When the system is unveiled, perhaps it will entail, watermarks, paper ballots. But this is one American tradition, unlike apple pie, that we want to see ended.
No doubt.
Eager to hear how the woman, Heather Honey, filling a newly created Trump administration position might help safeguard the vote ahead of next year's midterms. But many of them left alarmed. The new official, Heather Honey, used portions of the meeting to echo rhetoric that has infused the right-wing election activist movement that emerged since President Trump falsely claimed that in his 2020 defeat was the result of widespread fraud, according to 5 people with knowledge of the call. And, again, this is what I mean. You've heard me use this analogy often about giving the media the shovel to dig their own graves with. So at the same time that the New York Times is putting out important truth gems and keeping the Q operation secret and attacking Israel and attacking even liberals, etc. At the same time, they print garbage like this about election deniers and no evidence and all that. Right. So when it comes out, they've burned themselves too.
Yep.
So you're getting a twofer out of the deal. You're using them for your purposes in terms of particular bits of information that you want to put out. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, it's continue to print garbage like this and cover up for election fraud.
Yep. And I happen to think that once the RICO charge hammer comes down, it's going to be MSM is going to get swept up in that as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Kash Patel foreshadowed that a long time ago, folks.
So did Q.
So did Q, obviously, right? But you know, even for people out there who don't follow Q, you can recall, and I know we're not talking about this audience, everyone in this audience, obviously. Yeah. But for the MAGA normies out there, Kash made it very clear he's going to come after the media. That clip has been circulating. Multiple clips have been circulating for a long time.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. All the different pieces are coming together. We got the terrorist designation, the RICO charges being floated, the connection to mainstream media. You can see how all of the pieces are going to come together. It's just a question of how they're going to play it all out. So, excited.
And recall and remember that famous video where Trump he's yelling at a reporter as the airplane engine or the helicopter engine is running. He says, "So and so's a criminal, and you're a criminal for not reporting." And he reiterated that. And indeed, they are criminals. The media is criminals. So, but this is part of it. So this is just perfect. The New York Times is putting it out there that this issue is not going away. And yet, at the same time, presenting it in a manner where it seems like they're trying to cover it up.
Yep, there's multiple Q drops that I mean, I'm just on the fly here checking them out, but I mean, you look up the term MSM and Q and the Q boards, and you get something like 150 results. But basically, what Q tells us, in essence, is that the media is complicit, and that they are assets. They're knowingly engaging in deception, right? And I'll just show people one quick example here. There we go. And this is from what drop is this? 4162. I just did this on the fly right here, right? I always use the same context. MSM assets complicit. Knowing. Okay. And there are others too. I know that Mike was referring, I think, to a different drop, but it's all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, they're everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
The mainstream media is, my gosh, they're about as important as anything else to the cabal.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Right. It might be number one. Yeah. Because that's the veil. You can't solve the other problems with the veil on your eyes. So.
Yeah. I've been saying that since day one, really, is that, you get rid of the mainstream media, or you get the mainstream media to start telling the truth.
Yeah.
That's the quickest way to turn things around. And they are, but they're also doing both things, like Mike explained too for there. So,
okay. Next panel.
Go ahead.
Okay. The ascent of Miss Honey reflects how Mr. Trump and his allies remain consumed with the belief that 2020 election was stolen. Now, even if you're a doubter, a skeptic, or an anti-conspiracy theorist normie, and you keep hearing Trump hammer at this over and over again, month in, month out, year in, year out, whether you know it or not, you've been prepped.
Yep.
So when the receipts come, they're much more likely to understand rather than just reject them right away.
Yep.
So this isn't going away, and there's no way that Trump would set himself up to be a fool unless he knew the outcome in advance. What does Sun Tzu say? The battle is won before it's fought.
Yep.
They got the receipts. They had the receipts a long time ago on the voter fraud, everything.
Yep. No doubt
you
about
just
it.
gotta just wait. It'll come out. And how the president is using his powers of the government to upend an electoral system that he insists helped Biden Jr. take the White House. Now, 2020 was a sting operation.
Yep.
It was meant to take the White House. Now, why would you do a sting operation if you're not going to sting That's the point.
right.
Right. Of course, if anyone needs a refresher course, you start backsliding into Normie land or MAGA land, you get a little discouraged. It's always kind of good to go back and review. Sometimes I'll go back and reread sections of my old books just to say, oh, yeah, that's right. Even though I wrote about the stuff, it starts to fade back. Yeah, I remember that fact.
Well, your brain is so clouded with all the new data points coming in and all the new psyops and trying to figure it all out that it's sometimes it's easy to forget the foundation we're building on.
Yeah.
And it's important to revisit that.
That's right. Yeah. So consider this a pep talk. Look at this inauguration here. We got Garth Brooks, in quotes, singing Amazing Grace. That's a funeral hymnal. Yep. I mean, it's not sung exclusively at funerals, but it's commonly, mainly a funeral hymnal. You sing the funeral hymnal at the inauguration, the strangest inauguration. And at this time, I was actually gotten together with a few local friends. I laugh now, but we were actually, I'm almost embarrassed to say it. We were expecting like the Marines to swoop in during the inauguration and round them all up.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah,
I've told that story really quickly, Mike. But that honestly was that's kind of what prompted me to start a podcast, because I was so convinced that the Marines were going to storm in.
Yeah,
I was so confident about it. I told everybody, all of my normie friends, all of my family. I set myself up big time, man. And when that didn't happen, I went into like a nosedive of depression, because at that point in time, I didn't know. I mean, I didn't have any idea that what was actually happening, that this was a continuity of government operation and so forth. I just was. And then, I emerged from that like 6 weeks later, and I did my first podcast. But I was in the same place that most people probably were at that point.
And it really baffled me. I said, there has to be an explanation. And then within days, Q came out, reposted, resurfaced. It had to be this way. Yep. And then you look back, and there's actually a post that told us that Biden was going to win. Only we didn't know it at the time, because he asked the question rhetorically: what happens if Biden becomes president and he took all these kickbacks from Ukraine? So we were told. We missed it, but we were told.
Yep.
And then, of course, in the days subsequent, you begin to pick up clues. Like, wait a minute, there's nobody at this thing. If you look at the panoramic view, it was a few hundred people at inauguration. And then it was sworn in at the wrong time. And then Trump gets the 21 gun salute. Biden goes to Arlington Cemetery. So it all starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
But I'd say within a few weeks, I realized this guy's an imposter. Yeah, he absolutely is.
Well, at that point in time, too, nobody was talking about people in masks. I mean, this was all before. That became common knowledge in our community. At that point in time, we didn't really have that point of reference. But you're right.
No. Yeah, we were Q threw us for a twist.
For sure.
And then came back and said, you have to show people, and it had to be this way. But there's so many of these clues, and it's right in your face. Amazing Grace. And then they go to the cemetery. They all leave in black sedans. Look like a funeral procession, exactly like a funeral procession. They went to Arlington Cemetery, which was never been done after a swearing in, which was done at the wrong time.
Yep.
Okay, Marines don't make those kind of mistakes, etc. And so they're attending their own funeral. Biden, Kamala, the Obamas, Clinton, they're all dead. That's what that is. And if Amazing Grace doesn't convince you, we have a bugler playing taps. Military funeral song.
Yeah.
And then there was the cannon salute with the wrong number of cannons, the cannons for a military. I mean, this stuff is not like little nitpicky stuff. This is military protocol.
Yeah, and credit to Derek Johnson, we have to say. He was really
broke that all down. Yeah, I would have never caught the cannons part. Yeah.
Yep. No doubt.
But it was fishy as hell that he went to a cemetery. But now we see they were all given a mock funeral. Anyway.
Yeah.
But it's not for nothing. This is the sting, the great sting operation of 2020. It's going to come out. I wish I could say when. That's the only thing I can't do, and I refuse to even play the game anymore.
But, no, we can't. We can't. It's kind of wasted energy to do that. But it gave me a lot of I mean, this was actually, I'll just show this brief clip before any of this stuff happened. This was back on October 15th. Remember when Trump was in the Oval Office and he was wearing the yellow tie? We were talking about all this, but he mentioned the 2020 election, and this goes exactly with what we're talking about here. They wouldn't have done this, folks. They wouldn't have run this whole sting operation. They wouldn't have had us go through 4 years of a fake presidency if they weren't going to sting. So let's just listen to this. This is a short clip, like 20 seconds.
Twice. Okay. I won it very big the last time, and I won it big the first time, and I won it big the second time, but we had criminals that didn't allow. I mean, I hope they're going to go into that. I hope they go into the votes which are being stored in Fulton County and take a real look at those votes, okay? Because I won it the second time too, twice.
So there you go. All right. I mean, he's making it so crystal clear that this is not going away, folks. This is, I mean, here we are, and who would have thought at the end of October of 2025 we would still be talking about the 2020 election? All right, but it's still cooking. This whole thing is still cooking. That's why we have to, as frustrated as we might get with the pace of it all, if they stop talking about it, and this is something you and I have agreed on, Mike. It's like when they stop talking about it. When they memory hole it, that's when you got to be concerned. But the reality is with every big ticket item, it's not happening. It's not happening with COVID. It's not happening with the 2020 election. It's not happening really across the board. I mean, has there been any major issue that's completely gone away that they haven't reintroduced to the narrative over this past year? And that's how you
Epstein, Israel, it all it's all keeps rotating, but it's there.
Yeah, it's like a master chef in the kitchen, right? And he's got all these different.
And if the objective was to just move on, let's fix the world, and let's not disturb people, just stop talking about it. But they're not. And you'll notice every time it comes back, the wave is like stronger.
That's right.
Right. It's like the ocean tide in the evening. Then comes out and then it comes up a little further up the beach.
That's
and
right.
Then you got to move up, get your blankie, and move up even further.
It's
right?
true. It's true.
It's like exactly how they're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like they're just doing these little limited hangouts and letting it fade off into the distance. No, it's getting more and more intense with every time it comes back into the news cycle.
Yep.
Right. So pep talk. But people need it, honestly, at this point. I mean, not a bad thing. Go ahead.
Sir, there it is. This is the sting. And this is 1 week after that election where we're crying in our milk or beer. Post 4951, November 12th, 2020. Shall we play a game? Nothing can stop what is coming, and it's all of the first letters of that phrase are in brackets, which yields the acronym NCSWIC. Nothing can stop what is coming. And it turns out that this was part of the Homeland Security program to monitor elections. I tell you right there, we stung them, and we've been saying it all along. And there's another post that said, nothing can stop what's coming is not just a catchphrase.
Yeah, I remember this.
Right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Catchphrase, and it's an acronym. I mean, what does he mean by that? Well, there it is. So he's telling you, we stung him. Don't feel bad. We stung them.
It was the national
show the public the truth. They had to let them steal the election this way, and then it'll come out. How do you safeguard U.S. elections post-POTUS? How do you remove foreign interference and corruption? Oh, by the way, I didn't get into it in depth. I just caught a headline. A sheriff out in California just revealed that Pakistani national foreigners were voting in elections. So there was foreign interference there. So that's still coming out. And corruption, and install U.S.-owned voter ID laws and other safeguards. That's everything that's happening now.
Yep.
It had to be this way, meaning Biden had to win, this character, and a mask. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you must walk through the darkness before you see through the light. And that's what the Biden term was.
Yep. for folks who don't remember, and I actually just looked this up really quickly, the Nothing Can Stop What's Coming is not just an acronym. This is what Q is talking about.
Right.
All right. So this is the CISA.gov website. And you can see, here it is, Nothing Can Stop What's Coming. Well, it's also the National Council of Statewide Interoperability Coordinators. And this is essentially, I mean, without going through the weeds here, I mean, this is the apparatus that they use in this sting operation to catch them. I mean, when Trump keeps saying, I caught them all, this is exactly what he's talking about. So, yep. All right, let me bring it back up here. Yep, Nothing Can Stop What's Coming. Had to be this way. Did we really think that we were going to go through a stolen election, go through 4 years of a fake presidency, and allow that to just stand, and they were just going to leave that there, and we were just going to move on and, forget about it?
Yeah.
No. And now all of a sudden, getting rid of the mail-in ballots,
Yeah.
There's actually a clip of Trump I have talking about this. We can play at the end of your presentation here before we go into our little interlude. Oh, here's another key one here.
Here's another beauty. Q post 4960, November 7th, 2022. This was when he resurfaced after a couple of years off.
Yep.
Dropped a few posts and then disappeared for good. Why do elections, all caps, take more than a day to count? Can cheating be done after the polls are closed? Who controls the poll books? Who controls the database? So he's telling you here they have everything.
Yep.
Why are extra ballots printed? And this coincides perfectly with the video of Trump that you just showed talking about the ballots in Fulton County.
Yep.
If someone doesn't vote, can bad actors hijack their vote? Of course. You just go in, you say that you're the dead person. They don't ask for ID. Now, this one is very interesting, and this is something, again, I caught on the second go-around. Went over my head the first few times I read it. Listen to this. Why did National Guard activate cybersecurity teams?
CISA.
Okay, but what is this? What is the implication here? Think about it. It means the National Guard was already under the Insurrection Act. They're already activated.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure where you're headed with that. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so back in on January 6th.
How could they do that?
How could they do that? Yeah, that's a great point, Mike. Yeah.
There
you go, because they were already federalized.
The stuff's already been done. And Trump even told us with regards to the National Guard, the current rollouts. He says, we already took care of a lot of stuff. Okay? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we've been keeping it quiet. That's what he said. Yeah.
This further confirms that Trump invoked the Insurrection Act on January 6th when he told everybody to go home peacefully and do it now.
Yep.
Okay? Hitting the exact same required verbiage of the Insurrection Act, the proclamation.
Yeah.
So why did National Guard activate cybersecurity team? This is 2022. This is written. Who gave the order to activate the cybersecurity teams? There you go.
There it is.
He's telling you. He's not asking. He's telling you. Trump gave the order to activate cybersecurity teams. Who else can activate the National Guard? Nobody. Only a governor in his state. But this is federal.
Yep.
We're under the Insurrection Act.
Wow. Yeah.
White hats have secured many systems.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is all supposedly while Biden is running the country, right?
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Activated cybersecurity teams. Brilliant. Just brilliant. I love it.
Oh, boy. Is that it? That's the last page?
Right, yep. I think that was the last one. So on that note, let me just go ahead and play this clip. It's a few minutes, but I think it's worthwhile, where Trump is announcing basically that he's going to be signing an executive order ending mail-in ballots. And then we'll show this video just to kind of put an end cap on this segment here. And then we'll take a little break. We'll talk about Mike's website, and then we'll get into the final segment. So let me go ahead and pull this up here.
Doing away with mail-in ballots and potentially electronic voting machines. Can you explain on that how?
Well, that's a very off topic, just really quickly. Mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt. And you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them because of what's happened. Massive fraud all over the place. The other thing we want change are the machines. For all of the money they spend, it's approximately 10 times more expensive than paper ballots. And paper ballots are very sophisticated with the watermark paper and everything else. We would get secure elections. We'd get much faster results. The machines, I mean, they say we're going to have the results in 2 weeks. With paper ballots, you have the results that night. Most people, many countries use paper ballots. It's the most secure form. So between paper ballots, very, very important, paper ballots, and I think maybe even more important, the mail-in voting. We're going to end mail-in voting. It's a fraud. If you have mail-in vote, even Jimmy Carter with this commission, they set it up. He said the one thing about mail-in voting, you will never have an honest election if you have mail-in. And it's time that the Republicans get tough and stop it because the Democrats want it. It's the only way they can get elected. Because with men and women's sports and with transgender for everybody and open borders and all of the horrible things, and now the new thing is they love crime. They're fighting me on the fact that I've made Washington.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. So yeah, he goes on from there, but the general gist, of course, is once again, going along with those Q posts. How do you safeguard future elections? What are they doing about all of this? They're using this executive order to bring this back into the conversation, right? Getting rid of mail-in ballots, and all of that stuff. Going to, you talked about the watermarks. A lot of things I'm sure that are going to come out when they actually publicly put the stinger in there. But great segment there. And once again, more proof, if we needed any more proof, that we're actually under the Insurrection Act and have been for quite some time now. And Q tells us in the drops. So great refresher. So why don't we let's pause here as we always do every week. And let's bring up Mike's great website, which is realnewsandhistory.com. As I say, every time we come on together, this is a primary source for me. I go to Mike's website literally on a daily basis to check out this tab right here, the Anti-New York Times. And he's got a treasure trove of information here. And he's also going to talk a little bit about what his specific niche is and also how you can support his work and indeed his Rumble channel, his X. Take it away, Mike.
Okay, here you go. Realnewsandhistory.com. Fake history is a fake news that has passed to the rearview mirror. And as you saw in both of my pieces tonight, this is what I do. I link the historical precedent, flow it into the contemporary times. It makes the presentation so much more powerful and interesting, and it makes history interesting. And that's my specialty, along with making things very clear and concise. We want to get people up the learning curve quickly. So this isn't like a PhD program, but at the same time, it's in depth enough that within a couple hours, you can really begin to understand the world. And it's important to understand the history too. And you see my book package there, My King University. That's for just $29. You help support the site and my work. But in return, you're going to get all 34 of my books and booklets in PDF format. And, oh, God, you'll learn so much. I mean, going back, Revolution, Napoleon, the Civil War, World War I, World War II, everything that you were supposed to learn in high school, but you were either sleeping or they filled your head with bullshit that we got to get reprogrammed. Okay?
Well, those two things go hand in hand, Mike.
Well, they do, because if you presented the truth as it is and you show who the players are moving the pieces of history and what their motives are, all of a sudden it becomes a suspense drama.
That's right.
And an action and suspense all in one. There's no fiction like real history, let me tell you. So you'll love my books. If you're old school, you want physical stuff in hand, very simple. My Amazon page, author page is Mike King or Mike S. King. And you'll see a ton of my books at Amazon. The Bad War, you won't get there. It's too hot to handle. but this is an ultimate red pill. You've got to get the truth of World War II. But there's also a book section on my website. You can order through the website. You tell me which books you want, and you receive a special invoice. You pay that way. So that's it. The Amazon page. Books that you must have. We talked about the importance of having a pep talk, right? Going back and reading your little Bible. If you haven't got this book yet, pick one up. Pick up a couple. They're only $14, and they'll help introduce people to the Q operation. The Secret Plan to Save Humanity. 1 hour, lots of pictures, large print. You will get such a solid framework of what this operation is and how it works that you'll begin to interpret current events and be able to do the math on your own. Okay. Yep. And this is another one that you absolutely must have. Crash Course NWO. 1 hour, 250 years of the globalist conspiracy in just 1 hour. So that'll give you a solid framework. And then all my other books are like adding meat to the bone. Crash Course 9/11 Inside Job, also essential. That's a great hook for people if you want to introduce people to conspiracy theory, because it's so big and so vast all at once. But here you're dealing with one specific element that's so important. 9/11. You have to be beyond the normie to read that and not come away at least doubting the official story. That is such a powerful tool. And that's what my work, that's what I set out to do, is to give people weapons and tools so we can all become activists and do our part in the digital army. So that's the Amazon page, Mike King, at the website, realnewsandhistory.com. And then the third element of what I do, which is relatively new, I'm doing a lot of Rumble videos in between 15 and 25-minute sweet spot. And the Rumble channel, very simple, Mike King. If you're following Patriot, you got to be following me. And I'm approaching 20,000. I'm very excited.
I was about to say, last week you were like 18 point something, and now you're 19. You're growing.
Yeah, 19.4. So let's get me up to 20,000, will you, by this time next week? And
what is that? What is that video right there? Don't be afraid of
that's an old character. It's a little comedy video I did called The Invisible Critic.
Oh, okay.
And that's my latest, The Boogeyman.
All right, I got to check that out.
I've got Casey and the Sunshine Band. Their video, The Boogeyman, is playing in the background, and I'm holding up all of the boogeymen of history.
All right, I
just making mockery of it.
Yeah.
But listen, you'll love my Rumble channel. And those of you who are not in a position to buy my books or PDFs or help out with a donation to support my work, I understand. You can help me by following Rumble and hitting the like button and sharing the video that way.
Yep.
All right. So this helps because it's increasing my visibility now. I'm seeping into that world of people who don't like to read necessarily, but they will like a video. So that's why I'm doing both, and I'm not curtailing my written stuff either. Okay, so you got it. That's everybody's assignment now. Follow me on Rumble if you aren't already. And you know what? You help Rumble too, because Rumble has been like a godsend for us in our community with all the YouTube censorship. And it doesn't cost you nothing unless you want to pay $10 a month, and then you don't have to see ads. But other than that, it's free to join Rumble. You just submit your email, and this way you get an email notification every time I put a new video up there. So please take a minute to join Rumble and then follow me on there. And that's it.
Yep. Well, I mean, Mike, you just laid it out what you do so well, and every week I always just heap the praise on you. And I'll go a little bit light tonight because we're at like an hour 40. I know we've got one more segment here, but suffice to say, everybody knows how much I love Mike and how much I respect his work. He's the only guest that I've ever even considered having on my show on a weekly basis. I was just blown away when I started reading his books and listening to him. I mean, I've learned so much. Case in point tonight, right? I actually showed you the post that I put out that was like, it was very Mike King-ish without even having read your article. And that's the beauty of what Mike does. He makes the information so accessible. He's got the marketing background. He knows how to hook you in, how to keep your interest, how to be thorough, but not be simple without being simplistic is kind of like one of your catchphrases. And he does it better than anybody else out there. Quite frankly, he's really the only one doing that, connecting the dots between the history and where we're at at this very moment. And history, quite honestly, has never been more relevant in the Great Awakening.
Yeah.
I mean, here we are. And it's also, it occurs to me that it's aligned with what we were talking about earlier about having to go back and having to review things from earlier on in this journey. And just in terms of the Q operation, you tend to forget things as time goes on. You got to go back and you got to revisit the basics of what brought us here. So Mike does that on a macro scale. I mean, he can show you the history of the cabal going back 250 years, trace it all the way up to where we are now. And indeed, that's essentially, it's part of what we've done tonight is kind of going back to what you call first principles, going back to the building blocks that got us up into this point. And being able to have that foundation, quite frankly, to me, it's just completely, it's invaluable. I mean, you have to know, you have to be able to build upon your current knowledge with all the new stuff coming at you based upon a solid foundation. And that's
absolutely
what provides. So make sure that
because we're in the last. It's analogous to being in the last half of a movie that you just walked in, or you ever flip through the channels and the movie's a quarter of the way through or halfway over. You watch it, you pick up bits and pieces, and it becomes interesting. And then at the end, you're like, "Well, I need to watch the beginning." If your awakening or your knowledge base only begins with, let us say, 9/11 or COVID, well, that's great. You've figured out a lot about how the world works, but you really want the juicy story. Go back a few centuries.
Exactly.
Incredible. Yeah.
And if you're starting to feel fatigue and you're starting to, get cynical and all these things and, starting to listen to the black pillars and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
Go back and just revisit even from the beginning of the operation. Listen, go back and replay some segments of this show. We laid it out for you guys. I mean, nothing has fundamentally changed. It's taken longer than we had anticipated. There's been a lot of twists and turns along the way. But nobody can make the argument that we've gone off the rails, right? And that's the thing. That's what we do on this show every single week. We show everybody how the operation is proceeding precisely aligned with the objectives that we've been talking about now for years. So, take heart, everybody. We don't know how much longer, but the movie's going to come to an end. But this is the time. It's like we're getting into that period right now, Mike, where people are really being tested. I mean, we've been tested all the way, but now here we are. We're getting towards the end and we still have a couple months to go, obviously, in 2025. But we're getting towards the end of another year, and a lot of people are really feeling that that weight. And in order to alleviate that, again, go back, review, and just make sure you understand everything that led us up into this point. And you can see clearly with Mike's work, you can go all the way back 250 years. You can follow the timeline right along, and you can see we're exactly where we're supposed to be at this phase. Q told us it had to be this way. We have to trust the plan. We have to double, triple, quadruple down, quintuple down if we have to, in order to get to the other side of this. But it is coming. So just take care. So, all right. Doing a lot of pep talking tonight, but let's go ahead and cruise into our final segment, which is, as I mentioned at the top of the show, the demonic, wow, look at this, 4 Ds in a row, the demonic daddy-daughter duo that wrecked the GOP. And we're talking about Eugene Meyer and Catherine Meyer Graham, going back to the Depression era. Take it away, Mike.
Yeah, I like alliteration, a little Shakespearean alliteration there. Demonic daddy duo. But there's Papa Eugene Meyer with his little girl, Catherine Meyer. And this would have to be, I guess during that era, Depression era or before. It's an old image. But this duo did enormous damage to the country in ways that nobody would even suspect or know. But when you come to appreciate it, you understand that our presidents are nothing. They come and go 4 years, 8 years if they're lucky. They do their damage, right? What these people do is generational. They alter the historical course of this country.
Yep.
And we're going to explain just how badly they damaged this country, because they essentially ruined the GOP. Okay. which at the time, especially in Papa Meyer's day, was still primarily an America First conservative party. I mean, not everybody in there was a good guy, but it was, imagine a party, of Ron Paul's, or at least in the majority. That's how it was back then.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at the absolute number that they did on the party. He in the 30s, and then she much later on. Again, this is what's that?
I was going to say, we talked about Disraeli and Coningsby last week. This is a great connection.
That's right. I wanted to mention it again. This is another passage from his book. We spoke about how he had advanced knowledge of the revolutions of 1848 in 1844. Where the hell that came from? But once again, Coningsby is what I call a factional novel. It's fictional only in that the characters' names are changed,
right?
But it's based on truth. Sort of like the example you mentioned earlier of a character in The Great Gatsby, Wolfsheim. It's supposed to be Rothschild. It's supposed to be Rothstein. Okay.
Yep.
Well, Sidonia is Lionel Rothschild, and he says to a young Coningsby, who's supposed to be Benjamin Disraeli, who at the time was really nobody, just an up-and-coming political person, writer, became two-time British prime minister later on in the 1900s. But in Coningsby, this is 1844, Sidonia, who is Lionel the Rothschild, wrote, quote, "So you see, my dear Coningsby, that the world is governed by very different personages from what is imagined by those who are not behind the scenes."
Yep.
And certainly the Myers would definitely fit into that upper clique of invisible rulers. That's exactly what he's talking about.
That quote right there is like the perfect definition of the deep state, right? The people who are behind the scenes, you never see them. They never go away, but they're the real power players behind the scenes. I mean, that is the cabal right there.
That is. And because they're not seen, you can't get to them. And not only is there buffering layers of protection, but a lot of people don't even suspect them of these nefarious activities.
Yeah, because they put their puppets out there, and all the normies think that the puppets are the ones who actually wield the power.
That's right. A high-level puppet. But they never get to these guys. And they never got to the Myers. And the Myers would not be quite as high as the Rothschilds, but they would be on the tier right below. So let's have a look at these characters. Okay, Papa Meyer, Eugene Meyer. During the Wilson years, World War I years, he served. They were known as $1-a-year men. These were immensely wealthy, connected cabal guys, mainly Jewish. Worked for the administration in some capacity for just $1 a year because they're patriots, don't you know? They want to just serve the country.
Yeah, of course. Guys, normies eat it up.
Yeah, and he headed up the War Finance Corporation. Oh, the $1-a-year men. He was appointed by a Republican president, comparatively conservative, Herbert Hoover, in September 1930 to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Now, here's the thing back then. These big cabal Jewish bankers, they weren't, at a time when the Republican Party was the dominant party, ever since really the days of Lincoln and all the presidents, they would win almost every election. It was just didn't behoove them to wear their leftist and Democrat colors on their sleeve. The way they operated is they started infiltrating the Democrat Party, but they did not overtly attack the Republicans. Right. A lot of these guys were like neutral or even pretended to be Republicans. They had to be, you see. So Hoover and also
because the country
Hoover and also his predecessors, they didn't really suspect that this guy was out to undermine them. You see?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
So that is how a character such as this, who's just total, quintessential, globalist, leftist, one world cabal, came to be appointed by a Republican president. Nobody twisted Hoover's arm. Everybody thought, well, he's a good guy. that's the way they operated. They maintained good relationships with the big Republican presidents. It wasn't until the Republican Party was decimated that these guys began to come out as left-wing Democrats. It was a little different afterwards.
It's just like they did with the monarchs of Europe. They ingratiated themselves. We were just talking about that.
Precisely. Yep. Exactly. Kiss ass until you can kick it.
Exactly. Yes. Right.
So Hoover, this is amazing. Hoover, now the stock market crashed in October 29. Okay. The epic stock market crash, which was Hoover's first year as president. It's only like 8 months into 7-8 months into his presidency. They were inaugurated in March back in those days. So nobody blamed Hoover, not at first. Okay. But even that was engineered because in the buildup, the several years prior, the Federal Reserve was just jacking up the money supply and created this immense bubble.
Yep.
And then when they contracted the money supply, the stock market crashed. That's 29. Now, September 30, Hoover appoints Eugene Meyer chairman of the Federal Reserve System. And he held that position for only about 2 years. And during that time, you can look it up. You can see the charts. The money supply was contracted by 30 to 35%. Just chop, a third of the money disappeared. How does money disappear? Well, loans are paid back, but then new loans are not put out into the street. And the money supply is contracted. So with literally less money circulating, people and institutions, businesses, they cannot repay the old loans.
Right.
It's really the most simple dynamic. It's so simple, it almost repels the mind. Mm-hmm. Yet when they talk about the boom bust cycle, the natural economics, no, it's very simple. You flood the money supply, everything up. You contract it, everything crashes. So simple. But that's what he did, 30 to 35% during that period. It was killing Hoover. So now, by the time 31 and 32 roll along, everyone's blaming Hoover. Mm-hmm. Everybody hates Hoover. Hoover bad. When this son of a bitch is choking off the money supply, it is so bad that Alan Greenspan and Ben Bernanke, more contemporary Fed chairman, have written scholarly articles about how the Federal Reserve caused the Great Depression and prolonged it.
Yep.
And they don't say it was deliberate, of course. They just attribute it to a blunder, a bad policy. Bullshit. Mm-hmm. That was the only way to kill the Republican dynasty, which used to win presidential elections by 2-1 margins. A lot of these guys were like MAGA of their day.
Which is exactly why they needed the Federal Reserve, so that they could control the money supply and then they could dispose of presidents whenever they needed to.
That's right.
Their major tools to get rid of this Republican dynasty, because really behind the scenes, nobody's really paying attention to what they're doing. The president gets all the blame for it, and they're pulling all the levers. They're controlling the economy.
And that's what they've done ever since. They can remove a president. They can remove the majority party from Congress. Exactly. Or conversely, in the case of Obando, they propped him up with 0% interest rates for 8 years.
Yep. Isn't that why? What was the name of the was it Amschel Rothschild? He was like the grand patriarch. He said something along the lines of, give me control of a country's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws. That's exactly what we're talking about here, because that's really what
they can control the political system. They can remove anybody.
Yep, you control the money.
Here you have Hoover trusting this character who's killing him. Was it on your show? We talked about recently about Emperor Louis of Austria granted titles of nobility to each of the 5 Rothschild sons.
That was just last
time. They're organizing the 1848 revolution, or even the revolutions in 1820 aimed at killing the Habsburg family.
Yep. So I was talking. That's why what I mentioned before about ingratiating themselves to the monarchs.
That's what they do
in the brain. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't trust these sons of bitches.
Yep. So
that is historic, and it's interesting because it even flies in the face of the basic tenets of what is known as Keynesian economic theory. John Maynard Keynes, the big leftist economist, who preached, this was his economic school, this kind of manipulation. Things go down, expand the money supply. Things go up, contract it. Play with the taxes, manipulation. But Keynesian theory maintains that when you have a crash, loosen up the money supply. Now, in the context of this shitty system we have, that's really the way to address it. Get some money out there on the street. But it just kept contracting as businesses are collapsing. People are going broke, losing their homes, people killing themselves. And this was a 2-year period. Eugene Meyer just freaking choked off the money supply. And working on the other side of the mark, as they say, con artists say, you get two guys working the same mark. Fake news and the D's blame Hoover.
Yep.
People didn't understand this dynamic, as simple as it is. They just say, oh my God, the country's going to hell. We're starving. 30% unemployment. Hoover's got to go. Hoover's, yeah.
And they drum that up with the mainstream media, right? So we talked about earlier, mainstream media, keynote of the cabal. I would say that, you control the money supply through the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
You control the propaganda machine. You control everything.
Yeah, I mean those two institutions working in tandem. That's a mighty awesome pair, and here we see clear indications that Q is targeting both of them for destruction.
Oh yeah.
So there we go again, linking the current to the history.
Yeah, you'll remember that Q post ending the endless, right?
That's right. That was one of his very last ones, and it dropped the number 1913 for this reason.
Yep.
So he's done his dirty work. He's killed Hoover. So in November of 1932, Hoover is up for re-election, and Hoover had won by almost a 2-1 margin, mind you, in 28. Okay. Now FDR, it's reverse. FDR wins in a historic landslide. Republicans lose 101 seats in the House.
Wow.
That's a tsunami.
Yeah, it is.
And then putting the Democrats at 313 and the Republicans at 117. And then there was a swing of 12 in the Senate, which is huge because only a third of the Senate is up every 2 years.
Yep.
And so they picked up 12 seats. And that gave the Democrats a commanding 59-36 advantage there as well. FDR for this period of time was the absolute dictator of America.
Yep. No doubt about it.
Thank you, Eugene Meyer.
Oh, and he also bought the Washington Post. Look at that.
Well, his work is done. He did his job. So what does he do? He steps down as Fed chair. He buys the Washington Post, which essentially in bankruptcy. This is the Depression. Nobody's advertising. The paper's hemorrhaging. So he bought it up for a song in 1933.
That's how they do.
He left the Fed, bought the Washington Post. Right away starts. First thing he did is he fired the editor because the editor refused to support diplomatic recognition of the Soviet Union because it was such a murderous criminal regime. Myers wanted that, and FDR wanted that. And indeed, in his first year, FDR recognized the Soviet Union.
Yeah, it was key to the coming war.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then after the Second World War, Hiroshima Harry Truman names him as first president of the World Bank in 1946. So now we know what he was. And you see some images there. There's Eugene Meyer, and there's a guy with empty pockets. Eugene Meyer did that to him. It led to the destruction of Hoover and the rise of this monster, this evil crypto-communist warmonger, cabal superstar, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, high-level Freemason as well.
Mm-hmm.
Eugene Meyer did that. And this had repercussions for decades. It wasn't until like the 50s that the Republicans began to gain some ground in the Congress. So he killed single-handedly a Republican dynasty that had pretty much existed since the election of Abe Lincoln in 1860 all the way up until Hoover in 1920. They couldn't kill that dynasty. And the only reason, and there were only 2 Democrats ever elected during that, 80-year period?
Mm-hmm.
And one was Grover Cleveland only because the predecessor got sick and died suddenly. He didn't want to run again. And then Woodrow Wilson because of the famous rigged election of 1912. So that is the control that the Republicans had at federal level. And the only way they're going to break that and have their world wars and have another Wilson administration was this. So he deliberately murdered the economy. And the Great Depression was horrible. But by the time of the election of 1932, unemployment in this country was over 30%. All right.
Yep. Devastating. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you control the money supply and you control the narrative. This is what happens.
Yeah.
And, the sky's the limit at that point.
Yeah.
You can control how people are thinking, what the conversation is all about, and you can ultimately pull the levers of the economic system, supply and contract. Contract the money supply or flood the money supply.
That's right.
Do anything, and that's exactly.
And that is why the election of 1912 was so critical, and they had to rig it because it's interesting. So much of Wilsonianism was undone by the string of Republican presidents who followed him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Harding, Coolidge, even Hoover.
Yep.
The one thing they couldn't undo is the Fed.
The Fed, right?
In particular, the politicization of the Fed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what proved to be their undoing. They had that weapon.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't have the Fed, they would not have been able to catastrophically crash the economy. And then this would not have happened. Roosevelt landslide. And all of its attendant horrors. The New Deal, the confiscation of gold, the Social Security pyramid scheme, World War II, the UN, everything. This is when your New World Order was actually the foundation was laid, all as a result. So everything builds. That's why you got to read this book. You'll see the step-by-step progression. Crash Course NWO. And again, you follow this progression up until the modern day, and you really appreciate how historic and miraculous what we're living through truly is. And this is what, enabled me to catch on the cue really quick, because I saw early on, they're talking about this kind of stuff that nobody ever talked about before. It's all in the posts.
Yep.
So.
Exactly. It's classic. I mean, their tactics never change. It's always problem, reaction, solution. But when you really look at it, and this is a great case study because they use the Federal Reserve, the system that they put in place to be able to cause the problem whenever they wanted to, whenever it was convenient. They cause the problem, contract the money supply, the country goes into a Great Depression, and then they fuel that reaction by controlling the mainstream media, controlling the narrative, being able to blame it on the Republicans, the president.
Yeah. What's
the solution? Well, they roll out their New World Order gradually, of course, not all at once, but that's how they do.
Yeah.
So, it's a great case study here.
Oh, and by the way, one more thing. After FDR's inauguration, guess what the Fed does?
What do
they start increasing the money supply.
Oh, yeah. Okay, duh.
You can look up the old charts and you could trace it, you could pinpoint it.
Well,
things loosened up a bit. I mean, the Depression would be prolonged throughout the 30s. They had to prolong the pain to get his radical agenda through.
Right.
But it was no longer necessary to really murder the public. They got it to a point where we were, quote unquote, only 18% unemployment or something like that, Yeah. But the real grueling punishment was a bit alleviated. They jacked up the money supply. You see what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Evil.
To make him look like a hero.
Right. Yeah.
Make all of his programs look like they're a success. Like, oh, we made the right decision. We went in the right direction here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an improvement. Things are getting a little better. Right. Certainly 20% unemployment is better than 30.
Yeah. And most of I remember learning in school that what brought us out of the Great Depression was the Second World War.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in reality,
that's actually fallacious because, in terms of GDP and in terms of employment, everybody's working. And the gross national product, they used to call it back then, is going through the roof. But how is that helping the people? All the shit your buildings you sending over there to get blown up. They're not making cars and washing machines. They're making trucks and tanks and bombs and artillery. That's your GDP. But in terms of lifestyle, the World War II period was very, very difficult for people. There were shortages of everything, right? Everything was inferior quality. Everything was going overseas for the war effort, not just for the American boys, for the British and the Soviets.
Sure.
You see? So,
it was really them expanding the money supply, which brought us out of it, right? Because
what finally truly brought us a measure of prosperity, true prosperity, where you could enjoy the abundance of production, would be after the war, late 1940s.
Yeah.
You did have all of these factories were retooled, but they started to cut the size government and the spending, and things got going. And the 1950s were a prosperous era.
Right.
But the World War II years were rough on American people. I mean, the bumpers were made out of wood on cars.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything was inferior quality. That's because, what good is the GDP? What good is the stuff that you produce if the stuff's getting sent overseas to get blown up and destroyed? Well, how does that benefit anybody?
Well, it's kind of the same principle today. Like what good is all of the wealth that we generate in our country if it's being outsourced to build up other countries?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's right. I mean, the idea is to increase your own wealth. Yeah.
Yeah. Same idea. That wealth has to stay in the country in order for it to really mean something. Right. Was I supposed to go to the next one or?
Yeah. So that's what happened. Roosevelt, his landslide, and then came his radical agenda.
All right.
So that, if you were going to, if the cabal were to hand out most valuable player awards, or if they had a Hall of Fame for the great achievers who brought the world, advanced the world towards one world tyranny, boy, Eugene Meyer's got to be one of the top 10.
And how many people even know his name, I wonder?
Exactly. Nobody. Isn't that something? Well, what did Sidonia tell us? Lionel Rothschild, the world is governed by different people than those who aren't behind the scenes.
And didn't he say also something along the lines of like, there's no great intellectual movement that isn't supported by Jewish elites or something like that?
Yeah. Every revolutionary movement is guided by the Jews. And this is Benjamin Disraeli, Jewish,
right,
writing, quoting Lionel the Rothschild, Jewish. So isn't that interesting?
Yep.
And Eugene Meyer, well, he's of the tribe as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Bavarian.
Now, you think he did a number on the Republican Party? Huh. Well, look his little girl he's with in the first
Hold my beer.
Oh, God. Just as bad. Maybe not quite as bad, but definitely you could rank her in the top 10 as well.
I was going to say, Mike, that's a tough act to follow, right there.
That's a tough act to follow because of the World War.
Yeah, right.
And because of the economic policies that came out of it. But in terms of political destruction and damage inflicted upon a Republican Party, she's the equal with what she did. So this is little Catherine Meyer, and she married a man named Donald Graham. So people know her as Catherine Graham. Most people forgot that she's Eugene Meyer. They don't know who. People are like, "Well, who's Eugene Meyer?" Yeah, he was an old Fed chairman. The biggest man in America. But there she is, an American original. I mean, she was a puffed up legend, far better known than her father in terms of like the popular culture. Washington Post owned Newsweek for many years. There she is, puffed up on the cover of Newsweek, Catherine Graham. Yeah. But what she is most noted for, and this is like openly known, unlike what Papa Eugene did, she turned her powerful newspaper into a daily attack dog against Richard Nixon and later on the Republican Party itself. I should also mention that the Washington Post lost money for many years after Papa Eugene bought it. But it doesn't matter. They bought it for influence. And the influence of the Washington Post is a little different than the influence wielded by the New York Slimes. Whereas the New York Slimes is with what one writer once called the typhoid Mary of American journalism, and it infects the rest of the media. The Washington Post serves that role as well, but it's a little bit more specific to the political class of Washington, D.C. That's a very close society inside the Beltway.
Yep.
Political also academic, also journalists. So they kind of know each other. A lot of their kids will go to school together. So it's like they're in their own world, it's a club.
Right.
The Washington Post can they can impose, they can put pressure on people in the Beltway, including Supreme Court justices. Everybody wants to get a nice write-up in the Washington Post. It's like their paper. They all read it. It's like the neighborhood blogs I go on sometimes to see what's happening in my local town. Hey, anybody know a good electrician? That type of thing. So it's very influential in that respect as well.
Yep.
But they were big. The Washington Post was the principal organ of executing the Watergate scandal, which took down Nixon. Here's a headline there. The president taped talks, phone calls, lawyer ties Ehrlichman to payments. I mean, every day this went on when they broke that phony Watergate scandal, which was a total deep state coup against Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
But this is her paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the media was feeding off of this. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. So let's go to the next panel. And I should mention, before they took out Nixon, Vice President Spiro Agnew, and Nixon was he was not establishment, by the way. Okay, at heart, he was like a patriot. He was a good Republican soldier in order to get where he needed to be. He kind of played the game of kiss ass until you could kick it himself. Okay, but his vice president was really solid conservative, Spiro Agnew. And they cooked up some tax case on him, and they forced him out of the vice presidency. Yep. And then Gerald Ford was imposed upon Nixon because he didn't get to select him. The Congress has got to approve his vice president. Unlike where it's an election, you pick your vice president and you run. And the Democrats wanted Gerald Ford, which tells you all you need to know about Gerald Ford, right?
Yep.
Rhino.
Right.
Warren Commission, Magic Bullet. The RV House, he's on that guy. He's on the Warren Commission.
Yep, of course.
So now Nixon has got Gerald Ford just a heartbeat away from the presidency. This is very similar to how Garrett Hobart, the vice president, died suddenly. He's in my book. And then Teddy Roosevelt was imposed upon McKinley, and then McKinley's shot dead.
Yep.
Well, they didn't shoot Nixon, but they killed him politically.
Yep.
Then you see the end result of the Watergate scandal. Nixon resigns, urges a time of healing. Ford will take office today. And getting rid of Nixon was a big deal, because when I get done explaining these photos, we're going to review that video link I sent you, and you'll understand why it was a big deal. He was going to kick ass in his second term. By the way, he was elected in 68, reelected in 72. I think he won 49 out of 50 states. Mm-hmm. And even though it was a lot of Democrats in Congress, there were enough Democrats who were reasonable back then that between the Republicans in Congress and the Democrats, he could have got shit done, a lot of shit done, good for the country. And that's what he was intending to do. Mm-hmm. But it was not to be. And he had to resign. Gerald Ford became president. He was just a boob, a bugling boob, or playing that act anyway. So, but now, when the congressional elections, the midterms of 1974 came along, it was a rout because the country was so agitated. They got the normies all fired up. Nixon bad, Nixon crook, and then they had Ford give Nixon a pardon, which Nixon did not want because he was not guilty. Well, the point of giving a pardon is it made people hate Republicans even more. So, he just got in there. His first week, he gives Nixon a pardon. So now the whole country, you only had 3 major networks back then. You didn't have the internet to defend yourself with. They really slammed the Republican Party as corrupt because of this fake ass scandal. I won't say engineered, but definitely executed by Katharine Graham. So, 1974, massive landslide, just like her dad had engineered in 1932. The Watergate babies. And these were like really lefty Democrats. Yep. So now, instead of having a Republican Congress and a solid contingent of Democrat centrists. You had just an overwhelming block of lefty Democrats. A lot of these guys were there for 20, 25 years, altered the course of history. So even when Reagan got in there, he couldn't get shit done.
Yep.
All these lefties and commies in there. Mm-hmm. So the midterm election of 1974 was history altering, as was the removal of Nixon in just that same year, earlier that year, or the year before. Mm-hmm. And here's the Watergate Hotel. By the way, the so-called burglars who broke into Democrat headquarters, steal some information, Tucker Carlson revered just a few years ago, 4 to 5 of them were CIA. This was set up.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and then they're trying to say, oh, what did Nixon know? And when did he know it? It was just a drip, drip. And they tortured this man with this bullshit scandal, just like they tried to do Trump early on. Only this time it worked. And in the bottom row in the second image, you see Graham with her 2 little hitmen.
Woodward
Carl
and
Bernstein and Woodward. Woodward and Bernstein.
Yep.
Crusading reporters out to get the truth. And they tried to dust these characters off now. They pulled them out of the nursing home to try to take down Trump.
Yeah.
We wrote a book together a few years ago. Well, the magic ain't working this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's Nixon reading his resignation speech. So, what does this all mean? Well, it's what she prevented from happening.
Yep.
And what would have happened? Well, I'll let Richard Nixon himself explain. You can play that clip.
Yes, sir.
I was going to reorganize the government. I was going to cut down on the bureaucrats. I was going to return more power to the states and the people. I was going to shape up the place. They knew that.
How much was there that pristine devotion to finding out what the president knew and when he knew it? How much was partisan determination that it had gone too far and they had to get rid of you or otherwise they would suffer?
It was a combination of both. Let me say, I realize that there were some in the media and some in the Congress who felt that for a variety of reasons, because they had disagreed with me in Vietnam, because they thought I was too strong in terms of what I was going to do in the second term, that they felt that it was very important to get me out of there. Let me make it clear as to why they were concerned. I had not held any punches back. I made it clear after the election that with the war out of the way, having won by 62%, I had a mandate. I was going to reorganize the government. I was going to cut down on the bureaucrats. I was going to return more power to the states and the people. I was going to shape up the place. They knew that. The media knew it. The bureaucracy knew it. The elitists knew it. The establishment knew it. They didn't like it. And so under the circumstances, I can understand why, whatever their devotion to being honorable and so forth are concerned, those partisan instincts might prevail. But in fairness, of course, there were some who weren't partisan at all. They just thought I should be out because they thought I should never have been in.
But if you had to guess a percentage of people who were in it for the partisan advantage or because they felt they had to get rid of you in order to justify themselves, as opposed to the people who genuinely thought it was an appalling thing and that you should be removed because of it, what would be the percentage in the media and the Congress?
I would say that in just lumping them all together, that in the media it was perhaps about 75% that just welcomed the opportunity to get me out of there. About 25% who felt had this pristine motive that you referred to. In the Congress, perhaps 50-50.
So there it is. And there's one other thing that he didn't mention that he was going to do. He didn't mention in that interview. He wanted to end the Cold War.
Yeah.
He wanted to have a rapprochement with Brezhnev. But we know things took a different turn after that, because then Carter got in and Brzezinski, and they started that whole Afghanistan business, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So he's out. So all that stuff doesn't happen. This is history altering. The nation would have took a whole different course.
Yeah.
And he would have been able to do it because, as I said, there were still many reasonable Democrats back then that he could have worked with, like in the South. Now, forget about it. The party's monolithic. They're all freaking communists. But back then, it was different. And I wrote in this article that I wrote on them, the D's then held 291 seats to 144 for the Republicans. So it was just like what her father had done, giving the Democrats a supermajority. So nothing. That's it. It was over. Not only were the Republicans in Congress thus reduced to second-class legislators, but the left D's assumed control of the party as the centrist D's were marginalized. So that's another big shift. You had reasonable elements in the party. Now they were in a minority when all these Watergate babies were fanatics. Okay. A lot of them were just grown-up hippies. Yep. America's political landscape was fundamentally altered for an entire generation as a result of the influx of these Marxists. As her daddy had done in 1932, she also did in 1974. In 1976, the aftershocks of Meyer Graham's coup led to the Jimmy Carter disaster. And it was a disaster. We did a segment on him on our Cabal President series. Yeah. And even though Republican Ronald Reagan would go on to be elected in 1980, the Watergate baby saw to it that much of his agenda was never realized. Catherine died in 2001, leaving her son, Donald Graham, in charge until the 2013 sale to deep stater Jeff Bezos. So from 1933 to 2013, that's a long run. That's 80 years.
So they
and then her son. That's a lot of damage.
They pretty much controlled the entire 20th century of American politics. I mean, the way you laid that out. I mean, it's hard.
And you combine them with the Sulzbergers, the Ox-Sulzberger dynasty, which is on the New York Times since 1896. That defines the whole thought process and the whole political, culture of this country. It's immense power. Wow. So the amazing. Meyer, Daddy Meyer, daughter Meyer, the Sulzbergers, that's the power right there.
Yeah. And the only force that was going to be great enough to overcome the control of the money and the control of the propaganda, military.
The military is the only way.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Truly was. Yeah.
Wow. Another great show, Mike. Thank you so much. And
one more thing. Here we are, the Washington Post, as a conservative editor, who got rid of a bunch of commies there. They got it from Britain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I forget his name, but they used to hate him because I think it was, I don't know, it was the Daily Mail or the Guardian, but the newspaper would always have these articles questioning climate change. And now he's the guy determining the editorial policy of the Washington Post. The Washington Post is just like the New York Times now. Wow. So this is the kind of stuff people need to appreciate.
Well, you really do, because again, I mean, it's like, we talked tonight about the frustration and things along those lines, but when you go back, and this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, if you understand the history, the way Mike just laid that out, like I said, pretty much the entire 20th century controlled by these two individuals in a big way. Yeah. They weren't the only ones, obviously, but they were two major players. It just goes to show you how far we've come and how miraculous it is that we're in this position right now, as grueling as it is and as tedious as it is. Mike and I will be the first ones to admit that. But we're here. We're on the cusp of a historical moment that I don't think anybody believed was even possible. I mean, the military-civilian alliance was the only thing great enough to be able to overcome the control of the money, the propaganda, and all of the cabal's other various different tentacles and nodes of power. Yeah. It's truly incredible when you really stop and you think about it, how historic this time is that we're actually living through it. And not only living through it, Mike, you and I are blessed enough to be able to document that history as well.
Yeah, that's right. We've been chronicling everything and make the makings of a great work of history, and I'm not volunteering for that. People can just watch the vids. Oh, and one more thing, yet. If I could paraphrase Columbo, still one more thing. The Washington Post did not endorse last. Do you remember that?
I remember. Yes, they did
A
not.
bunch of lower level libtards at the newspaper. They were upset. What do you mean you're not going to endorse? So the paper that took out Nixon would not go against Trump in 2020. So how can anybody blackpill in light of all this evidence that we review each week? But
Bingo.
be that as it may.
What I'm saying, like don't listen to all the noise. Don't
Yeah.
listen to all the noise. Just focus on the fundamentals of the operation and ask yourself those types of questions, right? If the military wasn't in control in 2020, you really think that they wouldn't have endorsed Kamala?
Yeah.
And not Kamala, but Biden rather, right?
Well, Kamala, 2020, they did not endorse. Right.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. Did I say 2020? 2024.
Okay, that's why I got confused. I said
they did not endorse Kamala. Right.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we know the reason, right? Because Insurrection Act,
Yeah.
January 6th, military takeover. Again, like you always say, Mike, sometimes you have to look at this stuff. Sometimes the best lens to look through is not so much what's happening, but what's not happening or what didn't happen.
Yeah.
That would have happened in the world. So fantastic show, Mike. Thank you so much. Final question, as I always ask, what are you working on right now? You got another article coming out soon? I know you did one you haven't read yet. I'm curious to do that one.
I'm actually putting the finishing touches on my presentation for the video episode 25 of my series. By the way, I forgot to mention my series, The Rise and Fall of the NWO Cabal. You can access it right through my front page or through the Rumble. I'm on the 25th episode. I started in I did some stuff in the 1600s. I'm going like decade by decade, and I'm doing World War II right now.
Beautiful.
So it's episode 25, and you can just follow these episodes one at a time. 25 to 30-minute talks.
Cool.
So
love it. Absolutely love it. Well, I guess we don't have time for all those recent event stuff we talk about earlier. I guess it's a good thing because we're
goodness. Oh my God.
So yeah, it's a little bit longer than usual, but well worth it. I hope everybody out there enjoys. Make sure you take a moment, folks, like Mike was saying earlier. If you haven't signed up for Rumble, please do so. It's free, costs you nothing. If you want to save a little bit of sanity and you got $10 a month and you don't want to watch ads, join Rumble Premium. I highly recommend it. I joined Rumble Premium a long time ago. But again, you can't do that. Just sign up for free and leave us a like, leave a comment in the chat tonight as you're watching, and also, of course, in the comment section. Let us know what you thought. We always love getting that feedback, but it really does help support both what I do and what Mike does. So make sure you go over. By the way, speaking of Rumble, again, make sure you follow Mike on Rumble and help his channel grow as well. And also check out the links in the description for all of the stuff we talked about earlier, links to Mike's webpage, his Amazon page, et cetera, and you can support what he does. So please do that, folks. I really do appreciate everybody out there taking the time to listen. I'm going to be back on Thursday. I'm going to be hosting Dave and Mark at News Treason. And then, of course, I'll be back following Monday once again with the great Mike King. So thank you, everybody, for listening. God bless. Godspeed.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.